today I have just got my Wave 6 stuff, and funny story about getting all this. I'm going to start off with Most Wanted unboxing. Got this really cool bag from Cool Stuff. I had actually, when I ordered everything, I pre-ordered, I selected shipping instead of in-store pickup. And when I got to the store today, they were like, yeah, we don't have your stuff because you selected shipping. And I'm like, and I was going to have to wait a couple extra days, but they were able to actually pull it off the truck, so that was really cool. Otherwise, I'd be stuck with the Wave 6 for a couple of days. So, doing our Most Wanted unboxing first, and yeah, here it comes. So let's tear this thing open. All right, here it is, the Most Wanted pack, and this is basically the closest thing as you're going to get to another starter for this game, because it's basically a starter for the entire faction. If you're already an X-Wing player, this has got everything you need to build multiple builds with this faction, because it's, you know, it's more than just the 3 ships you have here, which is actually nice that it has 3 ships, kind of like the core set. But let's pull all this cardboard out, and the first thing we're going to do is pull out the ships. Here's our Z95s. Now theirs are both the same, so we're just going to really showcase one of them. And it looks like it's got the, I don't know if that's the Black Sun logo or something else, but it's, you know, pretty nicely detailed in there. Different paint scheme than the other Z95, but it's pretty simple, black and white. Looks pretty good. Yeah, it definitely looks pretty good, but it's simple, you know. Not too much to it. But from what I understand, is black and white is pretty much the paint scheme for Black Sun. That's their colors anyway. And then here's the, let's pop out this Y-Wing. And astromech's in yellow there, or the salvaged astromech, I suppose. Mine looks like it's a little bent, so like this one's coming out a little bit, but I don't know if you can really tell. Maybe it's just my perspective is a little skewed, but it looks like it's just a little bent out this way. But here's the underside of it. This one looks real nice. But again, it's the same mold as the Y-Wings we already had. These are both the same molds as stuff that we've already got. They're just repaintings. And you are allowed to use whatever model you want. If you want to use one of these in your Rebel list, that's fine. You just have to, the dial is what matters. But as far as the models, you can treat this like just as if you had painted your own. So that's nice. Now we'll open up the cardboard and stuff, and we've got our little rules insert here. New rules for Scum and Villainy. You know, there's some stuff that's Scum only, and it's just talking about all the stuff that you probably already know. It lists what the dials are for the Z95 and the Y-Wing. We've got our little pieces to build our dials. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dials are going to be in this thing. We've got some bases for the ships. We've got some... Hold on, let's do the cardboard before we do the cards. Alright, so as you can see, we've got some Z-Wing, Z95 or Z95 if you're outside of the US. And we've got our Boba Fett, because as you know, or maybe you don't know, this Most Wanted pack also comes with conversion stuff, so you can use your Boba Fett or your Slave 1 expansion with this, and also your HWK expansion. There's HWK cards here. So, and there's going to be dials for those as well, because the dials are unique to the faction. So we've got Z95 dial, our plates, and then we've got a plate for the HWK and a plate for Iman, Azamine, and Boba Fett. And then here we've got Kath Scarlet, and then the Mandalorian Mercenary, and then here's our, and then the other HWK pilots, and then our Y-Wings. Got Cavill, Drea Renthal, Hired Gun, Syndicate Thug, another Hired Gun, and another Syndicate Thug. Now, here's what's interesting. So this is the dials. You know, I already said, like, we've got a Fire Spray dial, and here's another one. We've got an HWK 290 dial, so you can field one of those each. There's 2 ships for the Z95. There's 2 Y-Wing dials. I initially didn't know this. And why this is really good is because if you want to field multiple Y-Wings, you don't necessarily have to get 2 Most Wanted packs, because it gives you 2 dials, and there's also enough for 2 of every generic. You've got 2 syndicate thugs and 2 hired guns, so you can, in theory, field any 2 Y-wings you want. It only gives you 1 model, so if you play the game already, you probably own at least 1 Y-wing, so you can, right out of this box, if you're already an X-wing player, you can field 2 Z95s or 2 Y-wings, or both. You've got 5 total ships that you can field out of this box. If you don't have any of the other stuff, then obviously only 3. But if you're an X-wing player, you probably already have at least another at least a fire spray or an HWK or a Y-wing. At least one of those 3 I'm sure you probably have. And that's going to give you a lot more options. So here's the dials. Here's the Y-wing dial, and that's going to be pretty much what you've already seen. Nothing new there. We got the Z95 dials. You've seen that already. The fire spray. These are, so all these dials are dials that we've already seen. So nothing new there. Okay, and that's that. And the backs of the dials are like a dark green, as opposed to like the red and the black that we've seen before. So the Rebels had a red back for their dials. The Imperials had a dark gray or black background, and now the Scum faction, this is what it'll look like. You'd flip it over and you put it on the table, so it's green. Okay, so that's our cardboard. I'll have to punch those out and make some dials later. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes, right? Let's look at some of this stuff. Okay. I'm going to start with the ships. Now, here's our new... Whoa, sorry about that. So here's our new Z95 premier pilot from this faction, and I love this guy. I've been reading up against this guy, and I've come up with some builds. When attacking, if there are no other friendly ships at range 1 or 2, roll 1 additional attack die. Now, the Z95s here also have the illicit upgrade, so these are just straight up better than the Rebel Z95s, because the Rebels don't have the illicit. So that's one thing about the Scum faction. They're cheaters, right? They'll do stuff. They'll break the law if they have to. They don't, they'll use upgrades that are that aren't sanctioned or aren't right. So the illicit upgrade is great, and plus he's got his elite pilot and he's got his missile slot. What I love about this guy, more so than probably any other ship in the entire wave, is that it doesn't say when I'm attacking with your primary weapon. And it doesn't say when attacking with a secondary weapon. It just says when attacking. Every attack you make. Now, why is this awesome? Because of things like cluster missile. You're going to roll 3 dice and then roll 3 dice again. How about 4 dice and then 4 dice again? I mean, now obviously this guy has natural synergy with Lone Wolf. But look at him with cluster missile. I mean, isn't that fantastic? It's an 8 dice, not an 8 dice attack, but that's 8 dice in 1 turn. That's like Corrin Horn, right? Without the penalty of not being able to attack next turn. Obviously, you would, spend the... Obviously, you'd spend the card, if you did it. But that's a really good ability. That basically makes him a fantastic Lone Wolf candidate, with lots of other upgrades. There's also a Hotshot Blaster in here somewhere that we'll talk about that gives him an attack of 3, but he'll bump it up to 4. So he'd have he could also be a 4 turret for 1 shot as well. Which I love this guy. I want to use him in every match. Although I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off a paint job like that. All right, so there's one guy. I spent too much time on him. Kato Lichos. At the start of combat phase, you may remove a focus or evade token from another friendly ship at range 1 or 2 and assign it to yourself. So he can steal somebody's focus or evade. Great guy. Kind of reminds me of Wes Jansen a little bit. But he's stealing it, and he puts it on himself. So, he's a great candidate for target lock. So like if with a missile or whatever, he'll have target lock and focus. So that's kind of cool. He's also just a great guy to shut down the new boosted Soontir Fel and all kinds of stuff. So he's really cool. His pilot skill's a little low though. He'd be better for a higher pilot skill. So maybe you give him maybe give him veteran instincts, bump him up to a 7. He seems pretty cool. Black Sun Soldier, pilot skill 3, cost 13. And you got a couple of those, and then the binary. I don't know. The pirates, right? Binary. It's not binary, right? I don't know. Anyway, there's your pilot skill 12, or your pilot skill 1, cost 12. That's your cheapo version. I guess the difference between the Rebels is that for 12 they had a pilot skill 2, but here you get the illicit upgrade. So that's just a little bit of balance there. All right, now we have our conversion cards. Wait, I didn't do the Y-Wings yet. Let me do the Y-Wings before we get into the conversion cards. Yeah, and these are out of order. I want to just talk about the Y-Wings. So here's Cavill. When attacking a ship outside of your firing arc, roll 1 additional attack die. That's fantastic, right? He suddenly turns an ion turret into a 4-die attack. Or maybe you want to use a blaster turret with him. You know, it's a little harder to do with a Y-Wing, but there are some other cards that are going to make that worthwhile that we'll see, like the the new astromech. It's not a it's a salvaged astromech slot, so it's the flat top. So you can't use regular astromechs with these. You use the salvaged astromech. But he's pilot skill 7, you know, and so he's also he's pretty nice, He's great for a turret. Drea Renthal. After you spend a target lock, you may receive a stress token to acquire a target lock. So that's, you know, that's all right. There's a lot of stuff that's in the game now to remove stress, like Wingman. Also, here's a good candidate for the new upgrade, because Y-Wings are getting boosted here. We're going to show you some cards that are really boosting up Y-Wings. So, and then it's going to have synergy with this guy's ability. And then here's our generics, Hired Gun, pilot skill 4, and then Syndicate Thug, pilot skill 2. We got 2 of each of those. Now we get into the brand new Boba Fett. Now this is the first character to be reprinted, basically totally different. Same ship, same pilot, but now he's in a new faction. He's got a new ability, and you know, he kind of needed it. This is a really good Boba Fett. When attacking or defending, you may reroll 1 dice for each enemy ship at range 1. So he's designed to get right in the middle of things, and he gets benefits for being right in the thick of it. You know, re-roll 1 of your dice for each. So if you've got 3 ships, you can re-roll all 3 dice when he's attacking, or 4 dice actually, potentially. And then for defending, you know, he's got a lot of re-rolls available. So he's never going to need the target lock. So that's nice. You know, you always think, all I'm going to have to worry about is focus. You know, or even something else. Maybe you pick an elite pilot skill that has an action, because you're not going to have to worry about re-rolls. So, you know, there's a lot of possibility with him. He's really cool. But I'm going to show you my favorite one, Kath Scarlet. This is my favorite one that I've seen in the previews for. She's also been reprinted from the Imperial side. When attacking a ship inside your auxiliary firing arc, roll 1 extra attack die. I love this, because this brings her up to basically a 4 attack when she's shooting from, you know, somebody behind her. And at the beginning of the game, you can really posture yourself this way. You know, you do like a 1 forward, you're fine, and then your second turn, you know, you make a K turn. And then you boom, all of the enemy ships are now in your auxiliary firing arc. You know, that's something I've seen a lot of people do. She's a good candidate for bombs too, because if you want to position enemies right behind you, then that's a great way to drop bombs as well. So Kath Scarlet, awesome. Love her. Love this version of Kath. Iman Azamin. When dropping a bomb, you may use the three templates instead of the 1 template. This, I haven't even begun to think about all the possibilities and different ways you can use this. And the best thing is, it says you may use. It doesn't say you must. So you have options. You have a lot of options. This guy is a bomb master, and he will be so much fun to play, especially with the new title that is coming that you will see here shortly. Remember Iman. Come back to this point in the video if you want to reference it again when you see the new title. He's awesome. And here's our generic, a Mandalorian mercenary. I normally wouldn't talk too much about him, but here's 2 things. He's a pilot skill 5 for a generic, so that's cool. He costs 35, so unlike in the Imperial version where you could run 3 bounty hunters, 33, 33, and 33, adding up to 99, you cannot do that here in a standard 100-point game. You can only fit 2, so they're trying to limit the, you know, the number of bounty, fire sprays you get on the board. Now we're talking HWKs, HWK 290 to be specific. So here's the top pilot. He's a pilot skill 7, Dace Bonearm. When an enemy ship at range 1, 2, 3 receives an ion token, if you're not stressed, you may receive a stress token to cause that ship to suffer 1 damage. So basically, you know, ions, they usually always cancel all the dice rolls, then assign 1 damage and an ion token. He doubles the damage basically for ion weapons. Being that he can take an ion turret himself, that seems like a no-brainer for him. So Dace is really cool. The only problem is that he's going to be stressed. He doesn't have a K turn, so stress isn't that big of a deal. But, you know, it's kind of a trade-off. But it's a really nice way to make ions a lot more effective. And with the Y-Wings and all these turret-capable ships, he doesn't even have to be the one firing, which is really cool. So if he misses, maybe somebody else shoots, and he can still trigger his ability. Next, Palab Godali. At the start of the combat phase, you may remove a focus or evade token from an enemy ship at range 1 or 2 and assign it to yourself. We already saw one ship that had something kind of like this. This is amazing. So this is something we're seeing. They're stealing. They're thieves, right? He's stealing somebody else's token. This is range 1 or 2, so it's very nice. And if there's nobody at range 1 or 2, surprise, that means you're range 3 from everybody. So you're gonna get an extra die when you get shot. He's a great candidate for the blaster turret because he can potentially easily have 2 focus per turn. He could even possibly have 3 if you give him recon specialist, but it gives you a lot of options with him. He's both debuffing the enemy and buffing himself, so very cool guy. I like this one, especially if you can take evades away. Is awesome. Torkel Mux. At the end of the activation phase, choose one enemy ship at range 1 or 2. Until the end of the combat phase, treat that ship's pilot skill as 0. So this is kind of like the opposite of Rourke, right? Instead of buffing one of your guys up, he takes an enemy guy and brings him down to 0. Keep in mind, this is after everybody's moved and done actions. It does let somebody shoot last effectively. So that's quite interesting. It's my least favorite of these ships, but it's not bad. It's not bad. And he's only 19 points. He's not too shabby. And here's our generic, a pilot skill 1 for 16, Spice Runner. Okay, so there we go. Some new art on these too. It's pretty nice. All right, so that's all of our pilots. Now let's do upgrades. Upgrades. All right, so we got some new turrets. So here's our Auto Blaster turret. And the Auto Blaster turret is it's only a 2 damage and range 1. But like the Auto Blaster, your hits cannot be canceled by defense dice. The defender may cancel crits before hits. The reason it's worded that way is because obviously if they can't cancel regular dice, then naturally they'd have to cancel a crit if they did roll one. This is a little underwhelming. It's cheap though. It's only 2 points. So it's not too shabby. Not thrilled about it. I don't have any lists ideas for this one yet, but I imagine you'd want something that either extends range or adds a die. But it's not too bad. I've got 2 of those. K4 Security Droid. The crew member, he's scum only. After executing a green maneuver, you may acquire a target lock. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't say a target lock action, so even if somehow you have stress after a green maneuver, like you're double or triple stressed, you can still get that target lock. Now, that isn't an action, so it wouldn't trigger something like Push the Limit, but it's a very cool ability, especially with the stuff that we've seen in here so far. With he's a crew, so there's not too many ships that you can put him on, but maybe you put him on an HWK, and you're taking focus for a blaster turret. You do a green maneuver, to clear your stress from doing the ion thing or whatever. Not if you're blaster turret, but anyway, it's basically a free action after doing a green maneuver, a free target lock. It's nice, and it's after you execute the maneuver, so it's basically kind of like a free action. It's just worded differently, and that's important. You only get 1 of these. Greedo. Scum only, he's unique. The first time you attack each round and the first time you defend each round, the first damage card dealt is face up. So he's going to give you basically a guaranteed crit on your opponent and then a guaranteed crit on you. This sounds kind of counterproductive, but look, he's only 1 point, and there's combos that'll use him. He's interesting. I don't have any particular use for him right now, but I haven't really dealt too deep into the Greedo possibilities. Naturally, I'd think he would want to be on a ship with a lot of shields, and he seems like he would be possibly a hard counter, or not maybe a counter, but a good way to fight interceptors that are using auto thrusters. So, good counter against the Empire. I don't know how well he'll work against the Rebels, but against unshielded ships, he seems like he could be great. So there you go. There's Greedo. All right. Next, we have an Outlaw Tech, and it's a Jawa. This is actually the first time a Jawa has shown up in this game, right, as a character. And he's limited, so that basically means 1 per ship, scum only. After you execute a red maneuver, you may assign 1 focus token to your ship. So, interesting. So basically, you can get a focus after you do a red maneuver. This is even more awesome than the other one. That's fantastic. It's like Push the Limit, but for only 2 points, right? Obviously, you'll have to do a focus that way, but very cool. Alright, bomb loadout. Y-Wing only limited. Your upgrade bar gains the bomb icon. This takes up a torpedo slot. It costs nothing. It's limited, so you can't put 2 of these on a Y-Wing. But you do get 2 of them because you got stuff to field 2 Y-Wings. So Y-Wings and Scum can drop bombs. Guess what, Rebels? Y-Wings and Rebels can drop bombs. So this is one of those dual-purpose things. Goes 2 ways. Okay, here's our first salvaged astromech. Notice the icon in the bottom corner. This one costs 3. It's R4B11. When attacking, if you have a target lock on the defender, you may spend the target lock to choose any or all defense dice. The defender must re-roll the chosen dice. So that's really cool. Now keep in mind when you're doing stuff like this, you modify his dice before he does. So you can't like wait for him to spend his focus and then you decide you want to modify his dice. Whoever's turn it is, they modify their dice last. So if you're attacking, the defender has to modify your dice before you do. But that's a good way to, if he rolls naturally 4 crits or whatever, you make him do that. Or if he didn't want to spend his focus, now you can force him to spend his focus or something like that. So that's kind of what that's useful for. Okay. So genius. If you are equipped with a bomb that can be dropped before you reveal your maneuver, you may drop the bomb after you execute your maneuver instead. This is... I don't know what to think of this guy. He costs 0, so that's not so bad. He seems like he's only good with proximity. I can't really see using him with a seismic charge, or it's definitely not a proton bomb, because that's going to hit you. If you drop those after you're done moving, that's going to hit you. Unless you have boost, like unless you have engine upgrade equipped, like for a Y-Wing at least. I don't see any other reason to use this other than for proximity mine or a Y-Wing with engine upgrade. Or it applies to even... you know, another ship. Now, if there was some way to get one of these guys on Iman Azamine, then that would make sense because he can drop it as a 3, and then it might be out of the way. But I don't know. R4 Agromech. When attacking, after you spend a focus token, you may acquire target lock on the defender. This is really nice. It doesn't say after you spend a focus token to modify dice. It just says when you spend a focus token. So my initial thought with this guy was to put him on a Y-Wing with the new title. Well, basically somebody who's running a turret with the blaster turret. So because you have to spend a focus to activate that before you even shoot, you have to spend the focus. And usually when people are running that, they're not able to modify their roll, right? So this was a way to give you a target lock when you spend that focus to shoot. So that's nice. It makes blaster turrets a little more easier to run. You know, and then the target lock, maybe you don't even have to re-roll it, you know. Maybe you don't have to re-roll anything, and then you're good to go. And it comes with 2 of those. Salvaged Astromech. When you're dealt a damage card with the ship trait, you may immediately discard that card before resolving its effect. Then discard this upgrade card. Somehow, I don't know if I've seen this guy before. Was he perhaps unspoiled? I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him before. Or maybe I just fell asleep. That's awesome. This reminds me of the, wow, that's great. And you get to choose. You may. So, of course, it costs the upgrade. But yeah, so basically he takes one for the team. I think I have seen him before. Yeah, I think I have. But that's really good, especially if you put determination on there. You can totally ignore. And this is one thing that could work with Greedo, right? Except Greedo doesn't go on a Y-Wing, and they're currently the only ones who can take this, right? But that kind of stuff is cool. You may treat all 3 speed maneuvers as green maneuvers. That's what our unhinged astromech does. This is kind of like a take on the R4, right? Or is it R2 astromech? R4? Basically the one that came with the Y-Wings that lets you treat all 1 and 2s as greens. This one lets you treat 3s as greens. Now this is possibly more significant for the Y-Wing because the Y-Wing has no green maneuvers that are 3 speed. So this adds a whole lot of extra possibilities to the Y-Wing. Very cool astromech card. Here's one of my favorite cards. Hotshot Blaster. Now this is an illicit upgrade. See the little 7 looking thing right down there? It's an illicit upgrade. It's costs 3 and it has an attack of 3 and a range of 1 and 2. Discard this card to attack 1 ship even outside your firing arc. So this is a great card. It basically treats it as a turret. It's only range 1 to 2. That's the only thing I don't like about it. I wish it was range 1 to 3. That'd be insane. But this is a really good card for Nidru, right? because even though it's 3 attack dice, he can make that 4 attack dice. So I love it. I just got to fly him with that. Of course, it spends the card. You discard the card to attack the ship, but one thing that was uncommon that people might not realize right away is that this is a secondary weapon. Even though it's illicit, it's not it's not ordnance, right? It's not a torpedo, but the munitions failsafe would actually keep this from. If you miss, then you still keep the card. So munitions failsafe has a lot of synergy with this as well. All right, and that comes with only 1 hotshot blaster. So that's kind of a bummer if you want to run a whole bunch, because one thing is, being that the Z95s have this capability, you could run a whole swarm of them with this, and then you'd have like 6 ships all with turrets, and you're like, whoa, but it'd be hard to do that because it only comes with 1. So here come our titles. Our first title is the BTL A4 Y-Wing. Okay, you cannot attack ships outside of your firing arc. After you perform a primary weapon attack, you may immediately perform an attack with a turret secondary weapon. So you get to shoot twice. They both have to. It basically locks your turret in forward-facing position. After you shoot with your main gun, you then can immediately shoot with the second gun. Unlike Gunner, you don't have to miss. This causes 0, by the way. This is their way of fixing Y-Wings. Yes, and this also works for the Rebels. So we've seen a couple of things that are going to really benefit the Rebels here. So that's very cool. And then, we've got some new options now, too. So, you can go, regular shot and then an ion shot. Regular shot and then, a blaster turret shot if you've got, HWK expansions. Or we have the other one that we just showcased. So you've got some options on what kind of turret you want to put on here, but it basically gives you a second shot for free, even if you hit. So Y-Wing is suddenly a force to be reckoned with, and there's 2 of those in there. Now we've got our first card that can also help the Imperials, the Andrasta. Fire Spray 31 only. Title: your upgrade bar gains 2 additional bomb upgrade icons. I'm really impressed with this because I've been looking for the opportunity to have more than 1 bomb on a ship, but I'm surprised we don't have it on a bomber. So, this is great, and it's going to work really well with Iman as a main. So that's basically it. That is the Most Wanted pack. I hope you liked the review. Let me know what you think, and as always, like and subscribe, and check out the other Most Wanted, or check out the other 6 Wave 6 reviews that are coming